QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022 OneNote presentation. Enter purchase orders or POs. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022. If you have access to OneNote, would like to follow along, icon left-hand side, topic introduction 7060, enter purchase order PO tab. Also take a look at the immersive reader tool, topic introductions in the text area too, same name, same number, but with transcripts. Transcripts that can be translated into multiple languages, either listened to or read in them. Same name and number as presentations as well. Topic introductions designed to give an introduction to the topic, provide screenshots, links where applicable, give accounting background to complement the presentations, and can be used to follow along with the presentations if you don't have access to the software at that time. Closing the icon on the left-hand side, we're starting off with a screenshot of the home page. We're looking at this line up top with the purchase of the inventory, starting out with the purchase order, noting that a purchase order is a little bit different than we purchase inventory as an individual, because when we purchase inventory, we typically pay for it if we purchase it for it online before they ship it to us. A purchase order doesn't actually have a financial transaction related to it because it's just a request for the inventory, meaning we don't own the inventory and we haven't yet paid for the inventory. We are simply requesting it at that point in time. Then we're going to receive the inventory, most likely with a bill, and enter the bill and or pay for it at that point in time, recording the inventory and the related bill or payment at that point. So if we scroll down, turning on the purchase order, which was in the edit dropdown, preferences, we're down here in the items and inventory. We must have the inventory turned on or else you won't even see this top row of icons on the vendor section. So then if we open up a purchase order and enter the information to the purchase order, we have then the vendor. This is who we're purchasing from. We've got the date, we got the purchase order number, the ship to, and the vendor information. Then we have our items. The items are the things that we are buying. In this case, they're going to be guitars because we are buying and selling guitars. The items, many of them, which we set up in a prior presentation directly into the items. You can also sometimes set up items here if they are new items as you go. We have then the quantity, the rate. This rate is the cost, not the sales price, giving us the amount. This amount down here is the total, which we would think, you'd think, well, maybe there's a financial transaction related to this, given all the numbers on it. But no, because we're not paying for it. This is just a request at this point in time. We will then receive the inventory, in this case the guitars, and check them to the purchase order, be able to create the bill or check or payment from the purchase order once they are received. So in other words, if I then went into the bill and I was to open up Epiphone, you get this pop-up saying open purchase order exists for this vendor, which would be trying to link the purchase order to the bill. And if we wanted to do that, we can have that link, which would help us to populate the information down below, which we will see in a future presentation. If we go to the vendor center, which you can find in the customer drop-down vendor center vendor section, and into Epiphone, this is one place we can track the purchase orders, given the fact that the purchase orders, again, don't have a financial transaction, so they're a little bit more difficult to track in that way. But of course, we can track them on the vendor section here. We can also go to the transactions section in the vendor center, and we see the purchase orders. Here we can filter up top by the open purchase orders, for example. Let's make another purchase order. This one to Diamond Head. That's going to be our vendor. We're going to have the date. We got the number. We've got the ship to, and the item is going to be a ukulele this time. We're going to be purchasing 3 of them at $24 for $72 total in terms of dollars. No financial transactions, no impact on the financial statements, meaning income statement or balance sheet from this transaction, but we will be tracking it. Another one for Epiphone here that we will be creating, an ELP and an EPSP, Epiphone Les Paul and Epiphone Semi-Hollow Body, 50 and 10 of them. The rate, not the sales price, is $400 and $320. Notice that we're adding a customer here. Now that would be a customer that requested us to purchase these items that we're going to turn around and sell to them later. The vendor doesn't need that information. They don't care who our customers are. We put them in place for our purposes so that we can track the fact that we purchased these specifically for a customer. Therefore, when we receive them and create the bill or check, we will have these customers that will kind of follow through as we populate those items from the purchase order so that we can then know to turn around and make an invoice, which we can also kind of tag and link to the process from the purchase order to the bill or check to the invoice that we will ultimately create to bill or invoice the client of Eric Music. Then we have another purchase order from Gibson. We're setting up a new item at this time. So this item was not set up before. It's an inventory part. We're setting up the cost of goods sold just like we kind of did when we set up the items, but we can do this on the fly, as they say, as we go. Cost of goods sold, Gibson, the preferred vendor, sales price, the tax code. This cost, of course, is what is going to be populated here, not the sales price. So it's going to be the cost here because this is the purchasing side and not the sales side of thing. So if we went back to the vendor center and the transactions and the purchase order, we have these purchase orders that have been put into place, these being the open purchase orders that we expect to be filled. We expect to receive those guitars in the future. When we do, we will enter either bills or checks related to them, recording the inventory at that point in time, as well as the related accounts payable or cash going down.